Hi guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to talk about vitamin D and something called neuroplasticity. So let me jump to an analogy because I came across some research and I'm going to make that research accessible. Basically, when we're talking neuroplasticity, we might wonder, does vitamin D have anything to do with it? Good question, you ask, I say. As it turns out, yes. Here's how. Let's pretend you are building a building in the part of Denver where, oh wait, that's everywhere in Denver. New buildings are going up. In order to build that structure, you have to put up scaffolding. You have to have support services around. You have to have barriers and cones to block the traffic that is around the bottom of the building so that you can do the construction of the building. All of the support structures. It turns out that vitamin D is linked to some of the support structures that are most involved in neuroplasticity. Basically what happens is when you're rebuilding a neuron or you're remodeling a neuron or you're building a new neuron altogether, you need what are referred to as perineuronal nets. These are structures that help support the new development, the new construction of your neuron. Maybe it's just a new connection between this neuron and another neuron so that the communication can flow better. In that case, you need the scaffolding, right, of in the building analogy, that's the perineuronal nets. And those nets are basically linked to vitamin D in the following way. The worker bees that come in and take the scaffolding down after the construction project is finished, right? Those guys, enzymes, as it turns out, that move it then to the next place where you're going to have more construction going on, those guys are inhibited or kept in check by vitamin D. And so if you have a vitamin D deficiency, you have no foreman on the job to keep the worker bees that want to just go. They just want to do what they're supposed to do, which is let's go take down the scaffolding and move it to the next construction project down the road, Bill. But wait, isn't there supposed to be a 13th floor? I don't know. Is there supposed to be a 13th floor? I don't know. The vitamin D isn't here to tell us. Right? So vitamin D is kind of functions like a hormone, a signaler, to basically keep it in check that we're not quite ready to take down the scaffolding because the 13th floor hasn't gone in. Which, it turns out, very often there isn't a 13th floor in buildings. Did you know this? Look, the next elevator you're in, look, at least in this country, they don't put in a 13th floor. Ha! Okay. Anyways, so vitamin D supports the supporters. Vitamin D keeps the supporters, in this case the PNNs, the perineuronal nets, in place while you're building your new neurons, while neuroplasticity is supposed to happen, right? The neurogenesis, or the new neuroremodeling that's supposed to happen, it happens when you have the scaffolding in place to allow it to happen, which does take a long time, as it turns out, for the neurogenesis. So, in light of this, a vitamin D deficiency actually causes the breakdown of the PNNs, and thus, ultimately, the construction project comes to a halt. Most affected would be the hippocampus, in particular, in the research I looked at, which I will link below in case somebody wants to read it. And additionally, though, weirdly enough, it's the right side of the hippocampus that is most affected by a deficiency of vitamin D. And so, of course, the study went on to, theorize about links to schizophrenia and bipolar disorder and all sorts of, mental health conditions that could be related to vitamin D deficiency. Probably true, but secondarily so, because the elephant in the room, guys, is, you guessed it, right? You follow this channel, the elephant in the room is trauma. All of those things are connected to higher incidence of trauma, PTSD, even if it's or adverse childhood events. The more adverse childhood events you can rack up, the greater the chance that you develop all sorts of mental health conditions. So really the connection is trauma, but like I said, elephant in the room, let's just talk about conditions that come as a result of the trauma down the road. Thanks for tuning in. In my next video, I'll get into a few details about vitamin D itself and whether or not you should actually supplement with vitamin D. Thanks for tuning in. Adios.